Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today I have a new quilt on the machine, so I want to show you what this one looks like. Well, here is an overall shot of the quilt. It's a little small wall hanging. It's about 36 inches square, if that much, and it's made from a couple of old vintage quilt blocks that my grandmother made. These are Cactus basket blocks, or you may know them as Texas basket blocks. There's a couple of different names for them. These were left over from a stash that I had of her blocks that I put together into a larger quilt, but there were 4 blocks left. And you can see this block here, the base is pink down here, where over here it's the background color. So that's kind of an oddball block in the whole group. There was a large number of these blocks that her daughter-in-law wound up with after she passed away, and she put half of them together into a quilt for her husband, which would be my grandmother's son, and then she gave the rest to me. And so I made a quilt, and then I had 4 left over, so I got some reproduction fabrics. That's with the blue and the pink, and then the blue in the border. Those are all reproduction, 1930s reproduction fabrics. And then I made a wall hanging with this. And I've had this made for quite a while, I just haven't quilted it. So that's my project for this week, is to get this one done. And I'll show you some photos of the larger quilt that I made. It's about the size of a twin bed, maybe a little bit larger, and I did a lot of feather quilting in that. I don't think I'm going to do that in this top, but I'm still kicking around ideas on what I want to do with this. But this is the current project, and I'll take you along as I quilt through this quilt top. Okay, I spent a couple of hours working on design ideas for this quilt, and what I'm going to do in the outer border is just do a piano key. Now this is a 31-inch square quilt, so it's an odd number, so it's not as easy to do a border on that to come out evenly, unless you do like a 1-inch border. So that's what I decided to do, and it's a small quilt, so 1 inch will look okay. And so what I did is I used my Designs with Lines stencil, the 1-inch size, and I pounced the marks on the border so they're 1 inch apart, and I started in the center of the top and worked my way out, so it doesn't come out exactly on the seam here, but I'm going to go ahead and put one stitch through here and then do the first 1 inch mark and then go on through. At least it's even, so it won't look awkward. And then in the corners, I'll either, when I get to doing the side, the side borders, I will either continue that design all the way to the end, or I'll switch to something different. But for now, I'm going to use the chalk marks to help, and I'm also going to use this ruler. This is Handy Gadgets HQ Mini Scallop Ruler, and it's got etched lines on there for measurements, and it's a stitch in the it's a stitch in the ditch guide is what it is. I like to use it for small areas like borders. So this is where my chalk mark is for the next line, and just stitch on up and then stitch in the seam area there and then stitch down. And they should all be 1 inch because I'm using that stencil, so and right now I'm watching the markings on my ruler to make sure that I am at an inch over, and everything's looking good so far. So I'm just going to keep on quilting. And when I get down to this border, I just stitch in the ditch over to the next mark and then stitch up. Now if you want, you can use your horizontal and vertical channel locks to get across, and I do that on bigger quilts with bigger borders, but for this little project I think I can do without. But it helps keep your quilting lines perpendicular to your borders when you do use your channel locks, so you don't get your quilting, you know, cockeyed. Okay, I came up with a plan for the quilting design in this quilt, and I made myself a little thumbnail sketch, and now I need to do some marking on these blue background squares. Now this is kind of a busy print and it is a color, so using chalk didn't work very well. This is a chalk marker. This is a Fons and Porter one, and it puts out a really fine line of chalk, which I like most of the time, except it's too light on this fabric, and I marked this block with that chalk, and I can barely see it. I don't know if you can see it at all. There's a little bit right there. Then on these squares up here, I used a glow pencil, and this is the pencil I used. It's called Hidden Glow Green, and it's a PMC brand, Quality Product USA. It's number 111. I've looked online and I cannot find this pencil anymore, but there is one that is similar. I haven't tried it, so I can't guarantee that it will work and will come out of your quilt, but you can try that if you want. Just look for Hidden Glow Pencil or Glow Pencil. I'll see if I can find that link again and put it in the description below. But with this pencil, when you turn on your black light on your machine, that glows in the dark, and this would work better if my overhead light wasn't on, but it is at the moment. So anyway, this is what I'm going to use. It's going to give me the guidelines that I need to do the design work. So the first thing I'm going to do is to quilt the background, and then I will move over to the blocks. Okay, I'm getting ready to remark this block because I can't see that chalk. So I don't know if turning off, if this will work or not, but I've got the vertical line drawn, and I'm just going point to point on this block. Oops, and my lead broke, so I'm gonna have to be a little careful with that. Okay, and these pens are pretty old, so they don't show up as well as they did when I first bought them, but anyway, I can see that a lot better. So I need to find the halfway mark this direction, which this is an 8-inch block, so I need to go at 4 inches and then draw a line that direction and then this direction also. And I'm hoping all of these lines will meet. See how we're doing. Now there. Let's move this one up just a little bit. Okay, and then I need to meet them this way. I'm doing kind of a square and a square. This would be a lot easier on like white fabric, but this is what I've got. So I also tried water-soluble marker and I still couldn't see, so this is kind of my last resort. Okay, so now I just need to quilt along those lines. So I need to get my longer ruler. Move some of my tools out of the way. And I'm just going to start here. Now this is the only full-size block in the background. Now I'm going to stitch in the ditch to the next point, and oops. I have to keep backing up so I can see where the glow line is. Okay, and then we're just going to go across here and then up. And actually, this would be better if I turn my overhead light off too, but I am not certain you'll be able to see it all. And I get down to this point. Okay, and I've got all the straight lines quilted in, so I no longer need the black light. So we can do this. Now what I want to do is to do continuous curve around each one of these lines. So I can use templates, but once again I'm going to freehand this. Whoops, I need to do one more line. I missed one, I believe. No, I didn't. I've got it. This line is not supposed to be here. Okay, so I'm going to take this line out, this quilting line. So when you do a new, try a new design, it's good to have a sketch of it out and where you can see it, and double check it before you start doing a lot of your detail quilting, because you may wind up having to pull something out. I need my seam ripper if I can find it. And I'm going to do the S pattern. Go back up. Now none of the outline has the curve on it. So I'm going to go down to the next line here. That piece of pencil shaving there. And then go down. Okay, so I'm going to go across horizontally. and back. And then stitching the ditch to the next line. And I'm going to go ahead and go up this one and back down. Okay, so here is that quilting design. And I'm going to double check against my sketch and make sure I've got it, and that looks like it. So I don't need the diagonal lines this direction. Those did help me find this point. I needed to find the center of the edge of each side. So those helped me, but those were not to be quilted. So now I've got to do the sides. You know, on this one I did some water-soluble pin, which I can see this now. When I first put it on there, I couldn't see it. So if you have a water-soluble pin that you like, you know, try that and see if you can see your markings. So I'm going to go ahead and start here. And do the straight lines first. And stitch in the ditch. And the line up through the middle. Okay, so I have all of those lines. I'm just following what I have done on this side here. So I've got a horizontal line, this line is the same, and then I've got these lines up here. So now I can do the continuous curve, and I can ignore these diagonal lines. So basically it's just a grid, horizontal and vertical. I don't need the diagonal lines other than as guidelines to meet the points. So we'll do a continuous curve all the way across. And then stitch in the ditch. And I'm going to do this one. Okay, on this design, this edge is the center of the block, so it would have continuous curve down here. So I'm going to come on down and do that. Okay, all the background is done, and now I'm ready to work on the block. So I thought I'd go ahead and mark this out so that you can see what I'm doing. In the background you'll be able to see pretty well. In this space here, what I'm going to do is just a Greek key. So it'll look something like this. In this part of the background, I think I'm going to do some loops, so it'll just be like this. Be the same over here. In this part here, I'm going to do ribbon candy. Same over here. And this is an air-soluble marker I'm using right now. And over here I already drew the continuous curve, and we get the bottom part of it. and these little triangles here. And in this triangle, what I'm going to do is this petal design. So how I would quilt it would actually be to start from this corner, do this petal, and then come up and do the center, and then do that one. But I wanted to make sure I had this centered, so this will be a good guideline for me when I'm quilting. Now in the points here, the petals of the basket, what I'm going to do is start at the outer point and come down halfway to the side. So that'll go down to here, and then it'll come up. Actually, my machine's getting in my way. Let's see if we can get it to look better here. We can get it to show up anyway. So here we go. Like that. And this is another design I have not done before, so I am going to struggle with it just a little bit. But I think once I get going, it'll be okay. And if you do have trouble with a design, you know, draw it out on your either your quilt top or on a plastic sheet, or you know, a piece of scratch paper or something, so that you're more comfortable with it. And then down in this part, I decided to also do the loops. So this is what I've got going on. So there's quite a few different designs. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different designs. So, but I think it'll look okay. So I'm going to start out first with these points here, and I'm going to find the center and then just curve on up to the tip, and then come back down and curve here. Now I could go ahead and just go all the way around and do all of them, so I think I'll do that because that looks like it'd be pretty easy if you hit your mark, which I did not. So let me take that out, and I was just really off on this one. I need to get that right in that tip. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to this tip. Now I'm going to stitch in the ditch. Get here, and then I'm just going to reverse this. And then back in the ditch. And then the ditch all the way over this direction. And there we go. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the ribbon candy. And 2 loops. More ribbon candy. You notice I went backwards from the way I had this drawn. So the only thing I need to do is make sure I do it that way on all the other blocks so it all look cohesive. Okay, now I want to get over to the bottom of the basket, so I'm going to scoot over. And do the continuous curve. And then we're done. So only 3 more blocks to go and this quilt will be done. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.